Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. Welcome to Everything Cooperative. This beautiful Thursday morning. It's beautiful in Washington, D.C. The sun's up. I'm up. The world's great. And I have three lovely ladies on with me today. And we're going to talk about, first, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vernon.
Good morning, Vernon.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the 2022 Cooperative Innovation Award. But first I want to ask Alison. Alison, how did you get involved in this cooperative space?
That's a great question, Vernon. I started working about almost 20 years ago at the Urban Homesteading Assistance Board in New York City. I was primarily interested in community development and affordable housing, but they are an organization that is a co-op organization and uses a limited equity housing co-op model to, preserve affordable housing in New York City. So I really saw the advantages and benefits of the co-op model firsthand. I saw how residents were able to stay in their units and in their buildings in New York City, which was rapidly gentrifying and changing. I saw folks that were able to pay, affordable, stable operating costs so they could, save money and build assets so they could send their kids to college or, take care of a sick relative. And you could also pass down your units. It was also a form of intergenerational wealth. And lastly, I also saw how co-ops can really grow and expand through government support, since New York City has given a lot of support and funding to limited equity housing co-ops in New York City as a way to preserve affordable housing. The organization I worked with served over 1,000 buildings with over 30,000 residents living in them. So it was really a testament to both the model and the way the model could grow.
Phenomenal. So you got bit by the cooperative spirit. Okay. Oh, Anne, what about you? How did you get involved in co-ops?
Well, for me, Vernon, my introduction to co-ops was through National Cooperative Bank. So that was about, 25 years ago or so. And I never had learned about or heard about co-ops in business school. I was working for a large regional commercial bank. And there, we weren't lending to co-ops. They were all large corporations or sole proprietorships. And so coming to NCB, it was just like, wow, the fact that you could actually have a group come together and own something collectively as far as a business or home ownership. I just thought the power of that just really, enlightened me, and I have had the bug ever since.
So you got a job, and that's how you learned about it. You didn't learn about it in school.
That's right. No, did not learn about it in school. So, 25 years ago or so, they were not talking about co-ops.
And so, Alison, is that the same? You got a job, and that's why you end up learning about co-ops?
Yep, I got a job.
Okay. Mary Alex, is it something different, or how did you learn about co-ops?
Not really. I actually was recruited by National Cooperative Bank senior year at Boston College. So I actually got my job with NCB through the BC Career Center. I don't know how many people can say that. And 23 years later, I am still at NCB. And like Ann said, I didn't know anything about co-ops when I came to interview for the bank. You do a little research to get prepared for all the interviews, but they were recruiting for what was called the Professional Development Program. It was kind of a credit training program for seniors in college. And once I got to the bank, I was just fortunate to learn all about the different sectors of co-ops, how just the bank interacted, how a start from a loan to closing to servicing, just to seeing the impact that our loans had in these communities, not just in, what the bank did for a loan, but the grants, the contributions, the mission of the bank, giving back with service hours, community involvement. Like NCB just really lives the co-op principles and the values of cooperation. So this is why I've stayed at the bank for so long. And so that's how I think we all kind of got bit by the co-op values and the co-op mission. And to see it actually take place every day where you work is really, nice to have as a job. So
I already know the answer to this question. I can see it when you guys light up when you talk about your careers and your introduction to co-ops. So do you like what you do, Alison?
Definitely. I think that the fact that all of us started this work relatively early in our career and we haven't left it. And, gosh, between the three of us, what is it, 70 years in this ecosystem. And it's, I like what I do. I like the people that I work with. I think people are incredibly generous in this space, and that principle of P6, cooperation among co-ops is really lived in a way where you feel supported. And it's just a really fun, satisfying career path. I wish more people knew about it.
Well, that's why we have this program, and that's why NCB has sponsored it for almost 9 years now. More people to know about it. And what about you? Do you like your work?
Of course. As Alison said, wouldn't be staying with it if I didn't really love working with co-ops. And I think it's really, the best of both worlds as far as, for me being able to use, kind of my original background in finance, but really apply it toward, doing something that's fulfilling and just gratifying as far as co-ops and supporting many times low moderate income communities. And it's always changing. So there's always a new, co-ops come up and they're innovative, they're solving problems. So it's always interesting that there's always something on the horizon.
Something's on the horizon. What about for you, Mary Alex? Is there something on the horizon that causes you to stay here, or what is it that you like about your job?
I mean, I love the stories. So I'm fortunate in the role that I am at NCB with the marketing and communication. I get to work with all the different lines of businesses. So whether it's housing, healthcare, renewable energy, food co-op, worker co-op, I get to see the impact that the co-op model has across all sectors. And it really, it's and one of our core values at the bank, it's inspiring, right? You see, people coming together to help solve problems, to create wealth, to create ownership, to create access to healthy food for people. And it's just we see in the news and, some of these Netflix shows are just about corruption and people wanting greed and just, wealth accumulation. But you look at the co-op model and the values of, self-help, self-responsibility, your business is in a very ethical, honest manner because you're really just about the people. That's what's so, gratifying to work at an institution like NCB and that supports the co-op model. So
in my business school, my MBA, I got that capitalistic model businesses they're interested in three things that starts with a P, and that's profit first, profit second, and profit third. Okay. And so that's what caused this greed and everything. And the capitalistic model has not been supportive to low and moderate income communities. Matter of fact, I think it's what's helped keep them down. But in the co-op, it's still three Ps, but it's people first. And that's what I hear all of you saying. And then it's the planet. What are we doing that's good for the planet? Or what do we make sure we don't do that's bad for the planet? And then third is profit. Profit is important, but it comes in that order. And I like that. So tell me, what is this Co-op Innovation Award? Mary Alex, let's you go first.
Well, actually, I can turn it over to Alison, but the Co-op Innovation Award, it's an award that was started by Capital Impact Partners, and NCB started working together a few years ago. But it is an award that we would like to give to kind of innovators in the co-op space to help them spur their innovations, to spur whether they're an incubator, whether they're a startup co-op, whether they're established and they're looking to expand, to provide funds. These are not loans. These are funds to help spur additional grants and to get them off the ground and to start, their co-op. There's been many successes since the Innovation Award was first started, and I can turn it over to Alison to talk about the history of the award, and then we can talk about some of the impact that some of the recipients have accomplished.
I would like for you to talk about the impact of the awards, but before you do that, Alison, Capital Impact Partners started this, so would you tell folks what is Capital Impact Partners?
Sure. So Capital Impact Partners is a community development financial institution, or CDFI. And for those of you not familiar with CDFIs, they are financial institutions that are dedicated to delivering responsible, affordable lending to historically disinvested communities. And Capital Impact has been doing this since 1982, and we have dispersed over $2.5 billion in the communities we serve. We actually started as a segment of the National Cooperative Bank, specifically serving historically disinvested communities, and then we split off to become a CDFI and serve some of these other sectors like affordable housing and aging, education, healthcare, food access. But we like to say that co-ops are part of our DNA and part of our co-op roots. And so it just, made sense for us to partner with NCB on this award in the past couple of years. And in terms of sectors that we work in, it's really food, housing, and worker co-ops that Capital Impact tends to focus on. Worker co-ops were mainly focused on conversions, so existing businesses where the owner is selling their business to the employee. In housing, we're mainly focused on affordable housing, limited equity housing co-ops, whether that's a multifamily building in New York City or the Rock USA model, which is manufactured housing where the land is owned by the residents. And in food co-ops, we're primarily interested in food co-ops that are providing food access to communities that are underserved by grocery. And I'll just add that we are a national organization, but we have offices in Michigan, California, Texas, New York, and DC. And our work has really expanded in DC in the past 5 years, which has been very exciting for me since I was born and raised in DC, and, just have been really enjoying working more locally here.
Okay. So quickly, about a minute before we take our next break, Alison or Ann, why did NCB join Capital Impact Partners? Ann.
Yep. Okay. Essentially, really, Capital Impact Partners had started the Innovation Award. They had it established, and Alison actually approached the bank and said, what about teaming up on this? And it really seemed to be a great opportunity. I mean, certainly it resonates with our mission, but also really connected with our strategy. And seemed to be a way to really leverage the strengths of both organizations.
Thank you.
We are able to.
We have to take our break. So we'll be right back, and I want to find out about NCB, where it is, and how it got started. We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes, and the program is Everything Cooperative, and I have three wonderful ladies that are talking about the 2022 Co-op Innovation Award. And when we took break, Ann was talking about why NCB joined Capital Impact Partners in providing this award. And now I'd like Mary Alex to just give us a background of NCB.
The National Cooperative Bank was actually formed by an act of Congress in 1978 to provide capital for really housing cooperatives and commercial cooperatives nationwide. So a lot of the first customers of the bank were the food co-ops and a lot of the housing co-ops in New York City. We privatized in 1981, and we are a cooperatively owned financial institution. So Right now, we have about 3,700 cooperative shareholders that are members of the bank, and they, we remit patronage dividends to our customer shareholders annually. And the bank, while we have a strong focus on cooperatives, we also basically work with organizations that follow the cooperative principles. So they may not be strict cooperative organizations, but they have the cooperative principles mission. Our main sectors, again, are housing, food, so independent grocery retailers or food co-ops nationwide, purchasing co-ops, so we bank a lot of the Ace hardware retailers nationwide. We have an office in Anchorage, Alaska. We work with the Alaska and Native corporations. Healthcare, and actually manages a lot of our healthcare line of business, so fairly qualified community health clinics. We work with the PACE program. We do a lot in renewable energy. So again, they may not be cooperatives, but they have concern for the community. They're democratically controlled, and they're there to help, better the local community. So, we're nationwide. I think we've done a loan in every state in the United States and serving a co-op sector. And we also actually, one other business, we work a lot with credit unions. Credit unions are cooperatives. A lot of people don't know that, but they're owned by the members. And we actually work with a lot of the credit unions to help service their needs kind of as a back office financial operation for the credit unions. So, why we got involved in this award too is while we loan a lot of money and do well, with the lending, our also commitment is to support co-ops and co-op development. So how we can make contributions and grants to spur new co-op development is a strong mission of the bank. So.
Fantastic. And you just outlined the 4 sectors of cooperation. And the first one is worker owner. It depends on who owns and controls the business or what sector it is. And when the employee owns the business, it's called a worker cooperative. And you've mentioned those that you have to fund worker co-ops. There's some stat that I heard that like 60% of the people in worker co-ops and the recent worker co-ops are people of color, which is extremely interesting. And then you work with consumer co-ops. That's the second type. That's where the people that own it are people that buys the products or services. You talk housing, credit unions are a couple of those that you talked about. And then you go into marketing producer co-ops, and that's people join together or companies join together, farmers join together to buy things so that they can get a lower price and a lot of times a better product. And marketing co-ops, they are the ones that join together to market their goods. And you have Cabot Creamery, Ocean Spray, you have different marketing co-ops and producer co-ops. And recently I had on the show Zuni tribe out in Zuni, New Mexico, and they call themselves a producer co-op. So these artists come together and they have a storefront and they produce art together and they produce it and then they market it together. So there's just a wider range, like you said, nationwide, worldwide, in fact. And these co-op.
Yeah, and you can, we do the Co-op 100 every year, Vernon, as you know, that NCB annual Co-op 100. It's a report that lists the top 100 co-ops in the United States. It comes out every October during co-op month. So a lot of people just don't realize that big name brands in the grocery store or in your local main street are cooperatives, but they're, very successful businesses. Like you said before, you have to be a successful business to then do well in the community, right? So you have to have those triple bottom line of you have to do well to do good in the communities. So, a lot of these really successful businesses are the co-op model.
Do well to do good, Chuck Snyder's motto. And Chuck is a great friend of the show, a great friend of all of you, I know from our conversations. And we lost him last November, and that's still sad because he's just a great humanitarian. Do well to do good in all of these different sectors. So, Alison, let's go back to the Innovation Award. What's the purpose?
So the purpose of the Innovation Award is to encourage cooperative growth and development in communities of color and or historically disinvested communities. These can be both urban and rural communities. And it's also to amplify the innovative models that are happening around the country that can be replicated locally, regionally, or nationally. We also want to support early stage projects and provide catalytic capital that will help attract other funders. We kind of pride ourselves on a lot of times being some of the first investment in a project, and then they will subsequently get other investments, whether it's, financing or investment or philanthropy. And we do want to support projects that are led or informed by community and culturally relevant to whatever neighborhood or community they live in. We fund both co-ops themselves or 501c3 nonprofits that help to support or incubate co-ops.
Okay. Why did you do this?
It's a good question. Well, we really started to do it because our organization was growing and our average deal size was growing. And so a lot of the co-ops that we were able to finance tended to be on the larger side. But we also knew that these new co-ops that were forming, especially as the model grew in the communities where we worked in cities like Detroit, LA, Oakland, DC, that a lot of them were earlier stage and they were in kind of ecosystems that were also earlier stage, and they needed support because there are differences in organizing in Black and brown communities or immigrant communities, and folks were really creating new models and new tools. So we wanted to make sure that we supported that, and it's kind of part of our ecosystem commitment. And so, we think of having different tools in our toolbox, grants, financing, and we also have an investment vehicle for co-ops. So just having different ways to support co-ops that are in different stages.
So who supported this fund originally? Who were the first funders?
So it was Capital Impact Partners for a while, and it was relatively small. And then when the National Cooperative Bank came in, they matched our investment, and we were able to give out double the funds and double the grants. And then since then we are trying to think of other ways to increase the pot of money. So we have been able to grow the program and increase the number of dollars and grants out the door.
So when did you start the program?
2015. And we started in 2015 and it was $50,000. And now this year,
for the award, or $50,000 total that you gave?
$50,000 total. And then this year we have $150,000, and we are looking to grow. We'll talk a little bit more later about trying to get some more sponsors for the award and trying to grow it. But so it has grown threefold in 7 years. 3 times since it started.
Fantastic. Okay. So, Anne, why did NCB think that this was important and join it?
As I mentioning earlier, it is really important. Certainly, part of the mission and a way for NCB to support co-op development. Particularly as a regulated bank. So, for us to already join an established program that Capital Impact had, we could match the funding, so double the awards, and also is an opportunity to contribute through our expertise in co-ops and also raise the profile within the co-op community, which we'll talk a little bit about how that's resulted in some sponsorships.
Okay, so can you just tell me examples of, just right now, I just want you to tell me some examples of who have won this award? Who wants to do that?
I'll start and hand it over to Anne.
No, just give me some examples right now, because we only have about a minute before we go to.
Okay, so in the early stages, Democracy at Work Institute, Project Equity. We have had co-ops like Shy Fresh and the Independent Drivers Guild. We have had kind of worker centers that work specifically with immigrants and undocumented workers, organizations like Co-op Cincy that are creating kind of racial justice curriculum for co-op education, folks like the Custom Collaborative in New York City that are thinking about, worker co-ops related to fashion and women of color. So it's very diverse in the types of co-ops and the types of projects we've funded. And that's intentional. We want to be flexible.
Fantastic. Flexible. And when we get back, we're going to take our second break. I want to go into more detail of some of these people that have won the award. We'll be right back.
news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes, and the program is Everything Cooperative. We have three wonderful ladies talking to us today about the Cooperative Innovation Award, and that's being funded by the Capital Impact Partners and NCB, and NCB has been our supporter for 8.5 years now. NCB's mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, especially in low-income communities, by providing innovative financial and related services. And that's what they're also doing with this award, really living and implementing their mission. And this is what these ladies are talking to us about today. And so right before we took the break, Alison had given us some examples of the folks that have won the award, and they have been in low-income communities, it sounds like, throughout the U.S. So let's go further into these awardees and talk more about who they are, so people out there listening may decide they want to apply. By the way, just real quick, how would they apply, Alison?
They would apply on our website, which is capitalimpact.org, O-R-G, and there is a Co-op Innovation Award page under programs, but also if you just Google Cooperative Innovation Awards, you will find it. And it is on a platform called Submittable, which is very easy to use. You do have to create a password, but it is free of charge.
Okay. Capitalimpact.org.
Yes.
So who would like to go first to give me an example of one of the people that have gotten the award?
I can go first, then turn it over to Anne.
Okay.
I'll just first highlight one of the earlier examples of the award, and then later I can do another more current one. Like I said, we fund both co-ops themselves and also co-op support organizations. And one of our first grantees in 2016 was the Democracy at Work Institute, or DOWI. And DOWI is they call themselves the Think and Do organization for worker co-ops. They are this sister organization to the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives, which is a member organization. And they have grown a lot since 2016, probably outgrown this Co-op Innovation Award. But at the time, they were really starting to build some of the structures and systems around worker cooperatives and what were some of the needs as we saw this opportunity for co-op conversions, which again is existing businesses where the owner wants to sell the business to the workers to run it as a cooperative. And what we funded them for was setting up something that is now called the Workers to Owners Collaborative. And this is a national collaborative of organizations working to transition small businesses to employee ownership. And it's really a place for folks in the ecosystem to share tools and best practices, innovation. They aggregate data, and there's kind of a shared message in the media and public presentations. And DOWI is the backbone organization for this collaborative, with a goal of really helping to expand the volume and the impact and accessibility of these worker co-op conversions across the country. We have, as Capital Impact, as an organization, we've actually been a member of the Workers to Owners Collaborative since its launch, and just want to comment on what a huge value add it has been in the space, because it's a place for folks that are working in this ecosystem, whether it's technical assistants or lenders, to help understand the structures, help troubleshoot, peer networking. One thing we've really benefited from is they collect data from all the partners across the country, so you can see what are the current trends, what geographies, what different, within worker co-ops, what sectors, whether it's food or healthcare or other types of businesses are growing. What are the demographics of these businesses? What are some of the challenges? And so as a lender that financed its first worker co-op conversion a few years ago, we really leaned heavily on this to help us understand the market. And it is kind of the epitome of the P6 principle. And so this is just one of the ways we helped fund a support organization that was really helping build networks and structures that would live on for years.
So P6 is Cooperation Among Co-ops. That's the principle. But I was also hearing P5, that there's a lot of education, training, and information of the workers. So how you do that?
Definitely. Yeah, and there's also it's a safe space to ask questions and to learn, and some of the questions are very nitty gritty. So I'm trying to set up this legal entity, and does anybody know any a good lawyer or a good accountant? And some of it is more we're working with this group of workers, and these are some of the issues, and trying to kind of transition that into that ownership mentality. So it's you really see the trust build throughout the years. And for us, when we did our first worker co-op conversion, financed our first worker conversion, co-op conversion, we worked with a cooperative fund in New England as a partner to finance that deal, as well as other technical assistance providers like Cooperative Development Institute. And so there's really, on a lot of these projects, there are this group that are working to move it forward. And so this is really a place to help solidify those relationships and build that trust.
Phenomenal. So there's a whole ecosystem, a whole system around you, where there's training, legal, financial. They're all around to try to help these organizations.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, Anne, would you give us another example?
Sure. And the example that I'd like to highlight touches on the point that Alison made earlier, how the Innovation Award can be a catalyst for further investment. And that's with the Drivers Co-op. And the Drivers Co-op received an Innovation Award before NCB was involved. So one of the earlier years. And they have, as a result, they have been focused on, raising their funds. They're a worker co-op, a drivers co-op. So they're actually in New York City. They have about, in terms of their drivers, about 3,800 drivers, and 90% of them are immigrants. And the focus here as a worker co-op is to really benefit the workers, the drivers. So the idea is that the drivers here get a better pay than if they were using, another sort of platform. And what's happened, since they received the Innovation Award, they've been able to raise other funds, and that's included actually NTB providing a grant to them, which we did last year, separately outside of the Co-op Innovation Award. So they've actually been thriving. They've been highlighted in the New York Times and getting other investments.
How many drivers?
3,800.
3,800 drivers, and that may equate to 3,800 families that supporting, and they're driving taxis in New York. That's always scary to me. I don't like driving New York, but they're driving taxis in low-income communities. Are they low-income in terms of the drivers?
They're not. Oh, as far as the owners, the drivers, yes, they would be. They're primarily low-income.
Okay. But they get a chance to have a job that they control. They have a say in how this works as a worker cooperative. Member owners. Phenomenal.
Can I just add, Vernon, that when we gave them the award in 2019, and it was just an idea then. They were a group of workers that was part of a union for taxi drivers. And the Drivers Co-op hadn't been launched yet. They hadn't purchased the app. They hadn't launched the co-op yet. And so this was really an idea that they had. I mean, they had a really good idea. They had an organized group of workers. They had a business plan. They had support structure. So it wasn't, just somebody thinking of something and us giving them money. It was very well thought out, but it was a risk on our part because it hadn't been actualized yet. And, much like the Workers to Owners Collaborative didn't exist yet when we funded them. And so we were the very first money in the door that allowed them, now down the line, they've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're looking to grow and hire people, and, they've launched their ride sharing app. So it's all very exciting, but it was that original seed money that helped actualize the idea.
So original seed money normally comes from family and friends or venture capitalists. Mm-hmm. So if these are low-income communities, it's not likely, because in the black community, blacks' net worth is like 10% of white families' community. So there's just not a lot of net worth. And if you have immigrants that come in, they may have zero amount of net worth. That's what you own over what you owe. Do you own more than what you owe, or vice versa? And so more often than not, it's not very much. So did you come in as family and friends or as venture capitalists? And did you get a part of the business? Did you get a part of the share of the business?
No, it was a grant. And I think that hits the nail on the head, Vernon, of exactly how I think of this grant is that, in a lot of the communities that we serve, specifically Black and Brown and immigrant communities, intergenerational wealth has been blocked through various policies. This sort of seed money, early stage money, friends and family money is not available because some folks have been locked out of the economy in different ways. And so it's really a way to say, we believe in this idea, we believe in this project, and we want to walk along with you as, help you succeed. And there's no strings attached. We don't get a piece of it. I mean, they have to submit a grant report at the end of the year. But besides that, it is very much.
So you don't get the venture capitalist gets a piece of, they get so much share of stock and they even get more as it goes down. And so they extract the cash out of the business. They extract the money out. You're not doing that. You're giving the money to say, please grow. And you did it in an idea stand. That's really in the beginning. You got an idea. What about helping out here? That is absolutely wonderful. Now, we're going to go into a third one. We only have a minute or so to talk about it. Who's going to do the next one?
I can speak to Shy Fresh. Should I give a teaser or the whole thing in a minute?
Give a because I love Shy Fresh. I was hoping that was the one you were going to do. We've had them on the show, so yes, please talk about them.
Yeah, so I'll just give a preview that they were a commercial kitchen that is owned and determined by justice-involved women in Chicago, primarily Black women. It launched during the pandemic, and it is an amazing story. So I will leave the rest.
Tell me about these Black women. Give me a little bit about who they are.
Yeah, so they were, at the time they got the grant, they were working in many different industries and were looking for a sustainable job and had found a lot of barriers as folks that had been formerly incarcerated and not a lot of programs for formerly incarcerated, specifically women. There was quite a few programs for men out there, but not for women. And so they were really brainstorming on, how can I get back into the mainstream economy, but also have some sort of ownership and protection of my job.
Alison, you got some Black women, migrant women that been in jail, and now they are owning their own business. That's what you're telling me. That's what you're telling me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and you help.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial, and we'll talk more about these grants.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back. And as I expected, this goes by very quickly when we're talking about things that we love to talk about. We only have one more segment. We're talking now about the different organizations that have won the award. And right before we took break, we started talking about Shy Fresh out of Chicago. So, Alison, would you please tell that story?
Sure. So, as I said before the break, this was a group of women in Chicago that had been formerly incarcerated, primarily Black women, and they were hitting a lot of walls to try to get employment. There wasn't specifically a lot of programming available for women that had been formerly incarcerated, and they were meeting with a group with the guidance of Camille Kerr, who is a co-op consultant that I know you've had on the show in the past. And they were involved from the very start in really thinking about what sector they wanted to focus on, what type of work would give them, meaning and focus on how they could contribute to the community, which was also a big part of it, and decided that the food sector was a place where they wanted to work. And so they launched a commercial kitchen. And I will say, when we gave them the grant, much like the Drivers Cooperative, it was actually not launched yet. It was an idea with a really good business plan, a really good mission, and really good support structure. And they were actually not planning to launch the co-op till the end of 2020, but then the pandemic hit in March, and all the women lost their jobs because of the pandemic. So they decided to launch early. We called them and told them they got $50,000 right after the pandemic hit, and I got put on speakerphone, and everybody was yelling and clapping, and it allowed them to launch. And they have been an amazing success. They are a commercial kitchen. They serve daily meals that is freshly cooked and rooted in the culture and traditions of their community. Some of the ways they're innovative are they're really thinking about the food value chain. Not only, making the food, but also where are you getting your food, supporting local farms, urban farms, Black-owned farms, thinking about healthy food in relation to food access. So it's not only about getting food into communities that are underserved by grocery, but what kind of food? What does it taste like? Where is it from? Really thinking about the whole value chain. And they have also been really, thinking about what are the specific barriers to employment for women that are incarcerated, and how they can help other groups that might want to form co-ops that are like them. They've been talking to a lot of other cities and municipalities that are looking to replicate programs like that. And what's been really exciting is they have grown beyond all expectation in the past few years since they launched, to the point where they actually not only have they secured some major food contracts in Chicago, but they were able to get a loan to buy a building on the south side of Chicago.
Wow.
Where now they are, the lending partners included Chicago Community Trust and Shared Capital Cooperative, who is a good friend of both National Cooperative Bank and Capital Impact Partners. And so they bought their building. It is a place where they can expand and grow, and are also looking to, in the future, open a cafe. They can add more quality jobs, more worker owners. So, the fact that we all know food is a very hard industry with very low margins, so that they launched in 2020 with $50,000 and have already bought a building in Chicago is kind of beyond the wildest dreams of what we had hoped for the project.
I know you must feel great about your part in that you could help these women that were in jail. And normally when folks come out of jail, men or women, folks won't hire them. They have a record. More often than not, they can't vote. They're not considered citizens. And that's the way our culture has done it. And so you're able to step in, provide a hand up, and then they just took it and run. I love this story. Do you have any sense of how many workers are there now? They started with 5?
Yeah, I think it's 6 or 7, and they were looking to, now that they've secured the building, that will allow them to grow and expand, because before they had kind of reached their max in terms of space and number of meals per day that they could provide.
So in the building, they'll now create their own kitchen.
Yes,
and all of that.
And then they're hoping to expand to some sort of cafe or potentially restaurant.
All right, we can all go up there then when they get that cafe up. In the summer, not in the winter. In the summer. Okay. Any other examples? Well, let's talk about...
Not unless NCB, but I would love to just talk briefly about the impact of the award since 2015, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because this is something we're very proud of. Since 2015, there have been 17 grantees. And again, with National Cooperative Bank coming on, we've been able to increase our impact and get grants to more folks. But since 2015, we have been able to disperse $515,000 in grants, and that has been used to secure more than $8.2 million in additional funding from foundations, investors, and government. So that's a number we're really proud of, because these are, like I said, early stages where we're giving folks a relatively, it's a large amount of money, but it's compared to what they're raising in the future, it's really a first investment, and then they're able to go out and use this money and validation to raise a lot more. And we really think of the folks that we fund as partners, and we're not foundations. This is not our jobs. This is not what they do all day. This is, we think of these, we want to see these folks succeed. So we think, how can we highlight their work on, whether it's a show like this, or whether it's sitting with them at a panel at a conference, or writing about it in a blog, or introducing them to the foundations. We really think about ways that we can help them grow and spread their message.
Phenomenal. So how would one, Everything Co-op has had this radio show down for, like I said, 8.5 years, and we started a LLC, Everything Co-op Communications LLC, a media company. Just have it as an idea, and there's four of us, four people. Could we apply for this award?
Well, I would say yes. I could give you more information about the eligibility, and then you can judge whether you could apply, Vernon.
So people out there will know, what is the eligibility, and how do they get started, or how would we get started?
Yes. So the eligibility is, first and foremost, you have to be engaged in work to empower communities of color or historically disinvested communities. So that's kind of the first off. You have to be rooted in community. You have to either be a co-op or a nonprofit 501c3, or you could have a fiscal sponsor that is a nonprofit 501c3. And you can apply from anywhere in the United States. You can be a national organization, a regional organization, a local organization. All different co-op sectors can apply. We do tend to give priority to food, worker, and housing co-ops, but really anyone can apply. And you must apply for a specific project, not just your organization as a whole. It has to be something specific that you're going to do with the funding, which is $25,000 to $50,000. And we really fund a wide range of kind of the type of funding we can give. It can be from, for financial projections or staff costs or training, development, technology, marketing. We very much leave it open and flexible because we want to meet the co-ops where they're at. And I will say that the deadline is May 3rd. And so please check out the application. You can look it over. You can save it. You don't have to submit it right away. If you have questions, you can contact us, and I'm happy to give my email with any questions. We also have FAQs on the website, contact information. We've had a few webinars that I can also send folks if they're interested about the Innovation Award.
So give us your webpage address again and your email.
So it is www.capitalimpact.org, O-R-G, and my email is apowers, A-P-O-W-E-R-S, at capitalimpact.org.
So, Ann and Mary Alex, is there any contact information through NCB about this award too?
We're actually doing most of it through, as far as the application process, through Capital Impact. So I would say, go to, Alison, to the Capital Impact website and her email. We are certainly highlighting the winners on our website, and I think we've got a link there. Mary Alex, anything to add?
Well, before you, Mary Alex, I would like for you to end it. We have about 1.5 minutes to go. How can we do more? What else can we do to enhance this?
Well, we're looking for other sponsors, right? So as Alison said, it started off as just Capital Impact and $50,000. When NCB joined, it was $100,000. Last year, we obtained 3 additional sponsors with CUNA Mutual, Local Government, Federal Credit Union, and Cabot Creamery to make it $130,000. This year, I think we're up to $150,000. We have CUNA Mutual, Local Government, Federal Credit Union, and National Co-op Grocers sponsoring. But as you can hear, the awards are big because it makes an impact. Like giving 5,000, 10,000, that couldn't have launched Chai Fresh or the Drivers Co-op, right? It's 50,000, it's 35,000. So if we can get more sponsors to make those dollars bigger and to give to more organizations, that will just be an amazing accomplishment for this. And we get a lot of applications that we would love to give an award to, but we just didn't have enough money. And we would love to be able to get additional sponsors to amplify this Innovation Award.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very, very much. This has been wonderful. If you got any sponsorship money, please get it over to Capital Impact. Go to capitalimpact.org. And we'll be back next Thursday. And in this week, please live quiet.